Hello, welcome to the Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 2, Empirical Approach, and our topic is difference between common sense and science. If in the ultimate analysis we need to rely upon is our sense perception of the social, the major question is how to exercise the use of the sensory with the caution that no ideas should be formed independent of the sensory perceptions. This is the fundamental difference between common sense and science. The common sense views rely on perceptions formed not necessarily with the reference to scientific method of causality. The natural sciences and the social sciences give more attention to the underlying causality rather than to superficial resemblances or lack of resemblances. It is for the scientist to look beyond individual manifestations to identify and classify phenomena. We need to consider the significant contribution of social science research to highlighting false notions dearly held by people about the social world. Such ideas often manifest themselves as prejudices and become a source of unnecessary social conflict. Social science research findings, on the one other hand, often tally with commonly held views, and in those cases social scientists appear to be talking rather common sense things about social reality, because their findings become an integral part of everyday stock of knowledge. We have already considered the example of the political. It can be shown that as far as the function of the political is the exercise of power or to negotiate such power differentials, it can be achieved through institutions and mechanisms that normally are identified as the family, kin, relationships, or religious rituals. All the same, a social scientist has to go beyond dispelling false notions about social reality. There are rather complex issues facing social scientists who have to invariably deal with not only what are obvious, well-known, routine matters, but also with digressive activities which you may call not normal and sometimes also not ethical. It is not easy to define what is ethical and normal. Let us first discuss the issue of ethics related to morals and then take up the issue of normal. Now let us move what is ethical. Everything in society does not follow the same pattern. Whenever a social scientist observes actual human behavior and activities, there are always some differences of opinion about what is right and what is wrong. We have already discussed that the scientist is the only one without any moral bias, such that what is right or wrong cannot be determined according to any particularistic principles, such as one's own value system, but must have a universal referent. There has to be some universal criteria of well-being, such as health, life, and so on, by which we may judge an action to be right or wrong. But this is a question that has continued to plague the social sciences. By what criteria do we construct a universal code of morality or ethics? How do we reconcile the idea of cultural relativity with transcendence of ethnocentrism? For example, anthropologists have been accused of trying to find a justification for every custom found in any society, including human sacrifice and infanticides. It is still a very big question mark as to how we judge the concepts of right and wrong when they do not apply to us, as Burns has put it. The intellectual task of the natural scientist is generally simplified because his data are, comparatively speaking, hard and reliable, and because the separation between him and the natural phenomena he studied is clear-cut. The social scientist, however, deals with data that usually are unreliable and fuzzy, and more importantly, his relation to the phenomena he studied is two-sided. The people he studies not only talk, they also talk back to him. Consequently, it is his kind of science, rather than that followed by the physicist or chemist, that should be called hard if we wish to indicate the difficulty of the task he faces. Certainly, the small amount of success achieved so far in social science as compared to natural science suggests that social science is indeed a hard undertaking. Ethical problems constitute a major component of its intrinsic difficulty. Ethical questions come up also for the natural sciences. For example, we are all aware of ethical questions regarding weapons of mass destruction and genetic engineering. But as Laszlo and Wilbur pointed out, it is only after scientific discoveries affect the humankind that we raise ethical questions about natural sciences. Otherwise, humans as such do not figure into the theories of physics. In contrast to this situation, in the social sciences, we are dealing with human beings all the time. And that is why we in social sciences have to continuously face ethical questions, and it is not just possible to ignore them. At this juncture, it seems a good idea to complete reflection and action for appreciating the ethical problems in studying the social reality around us. In the next discussion, we will discuss about what is normal. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcast.